Chrissy, you're all set?
Yes.
Please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Spend a lot of time here lately, huh?
It's been a busy week.
Susan Meany, you have the floor. Come on up.
Hi.
How you
Hi,
doing?
Susan.
Good to see you.
Yeah, so I'm here on behalf of the planning board. No, it's fine. You can hear. I've been talking about having a new procedure where applicants, before they file an application with the planning board, could come to us and ask some questions and maybe figure out how they want to proceed. Sometimes they're not sure. They go to the building department and James tells them, well, you could do this, you could do that. They're not exactly sure. But filing an application costs a lot of money now with, as you know, all the different fees that we have. And there's escrows, and it costs thousands of dollars really to get the ball rolling. So we would like to set up a pre-application procedure where they could file this just request to meet with us and speak about whatever their proposal is and maybe work out how the best way to proceed, what the best way to proceed is, and offer them that with a $500 non-refundable fee. Because we can't offer that for free. When I started on the planning board, I think 5 or 6 years ago, we often had people come in and just sit at a meeting and talk about what they're, but we don't do that anymore because that costs the town money. If we have somebody come in and talk about that, we have consultants and lawyers who are involved who then are incurring fees. So we think that a way that we could cover those fees and give people decent advice and let them move forward is to create this pre-application process. But we need the town board's approval to do that and to get this new fee structure of $500.
Okay, so that would cover just that
Just that pre thing, and what the board decided, the planning board, in talking about this is the way that we would like to handle it. Some towns handle these things like the attorney and the consultant, and maybe the planning board chair might meet with an applicant offline. But our board wants everything sort of out in the open. So we thought it would be better if they come to our meeting. So it would happen at the meeting and they would meet with, they would get the involvement of the whole board.
Susan, so let's say that happens. Somebody pays the $500, they come to visit you, and they want something simple. Does that save them some money in the long run by the not filling out 17 pages? And
I don't think that it really will in very many cases, because most of the advice that we're going to give them is more procedural and process-driven type of
then
advice.
I don't really see what the pre-meeting is for then. It is just to see if they qualify to come in front of you?
People call and want to meet with us. It happens that they want to do that. And the only answer that we have for them right now is file an application.
Okay, so
And that is thousands of dollars. So
Right.
that's sort of, we feel like that leaves them in the lurch. And sometimes they'll have simple questions that could be answered easily, and then they might file their application, or they might say, this is far too complicated
Gotcha.
and not something I want to do.
So
Is there
many years ago, when I was chair of the ZBA, I had told Mary, I said, you know what, we're getting applications that are kind of foolish sometimes. So I had asked her to have an applicant that calls for an application, because they used to have to come and get one in those days. It wasn't downloading. To have the applicant call me. And whether I was at work or wherever, they could call me, or I'd get back to them and they could tell me kind of what they wanted to do. And sometimes I would even go to their property and take a quick look with them and say, well, have you talked to your neighbors yet? And then they talk to their neighbors and they go, well, I had one instance where the guy says, well, I don't see any of my neighbors. I don't even know where they live, because he was a big plot of land and the neighbors had big plots of land. And I says, well, find out who your neighbors are and talk to them. And then he called me up a week later and he says, oh, I talked to my neighbors. I'm not applying for a variance because he talked to his neighbors. So it saved a lot of money and aggravation and time and,
I understand what you're saying, but we have been advised by the attorneys, by the
Yeah.
consultants, that these days, I, as planning board chair, should not be having any private conversations
Yeah.
with applicants. I should not be visiting their properties on my own. So we have been
Yeah.
more insulated than we were in the past when we were doing it, I think. And so we are kind of stuck in this, we have a wall up that people can't get through to ask those basic questions. So now that, I think that same thing could happen. The only difference is it would happen at a meeting and they would lose $500. I don't think that's a lot of money to ask for somebody to not make a big mistake of filing for the whole variance or filing for the whole, whatever their application would be for the planning board. So that's,
Is there
they
any,
move, sorry,
I just want to get this out. Is there any way of putting like a basic procedure on the website of from start to finish of like what
I've
they would?
tried to do that, and if you look under the planning board, I've tried to create
Yeah,
that, but there are a lot of different scenarios, but
Yeah.
I have tried
You're
to
right, there
to
are.
work that
Yeah.
out so that people can. look
and
at
I
it.
do think like basic things are usually answered by the building inspector
Yes.
of like what's gonna
Okay.
happen in that process. So it's
Most
really,
all
yeah.
questions are answered by him. He
Yeah.
does a good job, I think, in directing people what to do,
So,
but we still do have.
so Susan, this is a one-time individual consulting session
Exactly, yes.
for $500.
but that would
They
be
walk out
mandatory
of
for
there
everybody.
And they're still confused, then what happens?
A lot of times what we're going to be telling them is, this is a complicated question. You really need to hire counsel. You need
Okay.
to hire an engineer. You need to, a lot of times that's going to be what we're telling them, I think. But sometimes
You
they
want a
don't,
process.
we need some sort
well,
of
sometimes they decide, for example, there was one resident who was thinking about putting in making their garage, there was an apartment in the garage, remember, and they wanted to maybe make it into an Airbnb,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And that law was in the process, and once they understood kind of what was involved, and that they
I
decided
immediately wanted out.
that they weren't going to do it.
Yeah.
But
And
they
it
did,
happens a lot.
but they did go through a lot of steps, and they had an architect come, and so they definitely spent more money.
They wasted a lot of money.
Getting
because they
further
didn't
down there,
understand
where
it.
if they'd gone to the workshop and understood that would trigger that, it being part of the short-term rental, anyway, I shouldn't have said Airbnb, I'm sorry. Short-term rental law that they,
Mhm.
so anyway, I think you're seeing it, these people coming before you and sometimes, having to take a step back, and then they've expended, more money than they
I also
intended.
think, in my experience when I was working
Yeah.
up to us and Joe do now, people came in with napkins and drawings on napkins.
Oh, yeah.
And they come in nervous as can be because they've never been before a legal board and they didn't know what questions to ask and so on. And I think this develops a nice collegial relationship between the board and the new resident or the old resident or the resident who just is confused. Plus, I believe the building inspector sometimes is even present and questions get answered then. So I don't see a problem with it. I wonder, is $500 steep? How'd you come to that amount?
In speaking with both Megan and our consultant, Aaron.
Okay,
We talked about how much time that might take. They're not going to spend an inordinate amount of time on somebody that hasn't actually filed a full application, but they do need to look at what section of the code is involved.
so you're
or
anticipating
whatever. So,
if I walked in, it might be a half hour of dialogue.
yes, but they look at it beforehand.
okay.
They would look at it before they came to a meeting, because they would say, okay, what sections of the code are involved in this? Let me,
Okay.
review these sections, so they need to have a little bit of background before they come. They're not going to spend an enormous amount of time, because again, it's not an application.
So the advice you took on the fee from Aaron and Megan, is that because this might be done in other towns?
Yes, this is based on mostly what the AKRF charges in other towns,
Okay.
as well as what my office charges in other towns.
And other towns have adopted a similar kind
A
of
lot of other
workshop.
towns
Okay.
have this. I
Okay.
did a survey of a bunch of towns and a lot of them do. A lot of them do it differently. They'll meet with one or two board members offline with the consultants, that kind of thing. But a lot of towns are do. have this
So
sort of-
would they have to fill out an application to do
I
that?
created sort of a mini application, just telling what your name is, what your property is, what your proposal, handwritten, tell us what you want to do. Very, very short. This is the application.
Okay.
So just as simple as it can be, so that I don't want to be intimidating to people.
No.
I think I had this idea because of the few phone calls that we got there. I felt that we couldn't properly answer.
Mm.
I don't like to think that we're a board that has this wall up that people can't access us.
Mhm.
And so it was a way to get to it.
Oh,
All right.
I just,
no problem.
I think it's a lot of money. I mean, I'm thinking of the working man that, needs a special use permit or.
Is there any way it could be tied into like, let's say they pay you $500 and then they keep going through the process. Can that be sort of deducted from some of the other fees? If they continue?
That's up to you guys, really. Certain other things that we do, fees that we give, just go, we have an escrow and they
Right.
keep pulling out of the escrow. Or I don't know if the main application fee, I think that's not refundable though, right? So
That was a thought that I had. Is there a way that we could apply that to
if they.
that
continue.
fee?
If they
If
continue.
they
But how do we
continue?
determine, then we're really having to get into the nitty gritty of exactly the amount of minutes that
Yeah.
Megan and
Oh, true.
Aaron have used on that. It
Mhm.
gets a little complicated.
Oh, I was just thinking like the $500 is part of their, so like I just was signing some bills here that are for bills for applications to the planning board from AKRF, except for example. But if they've paid their 500 and let's say AKRF over the course of their application charges the town, pick a number, let's say $1,000 for easy math, then we have that 500 in escrow from them from the workshop. And then they would just be charged the additional 500. Unless we really feel like it
But
would
I'm
then be
assuming
costing
that
us
this-
money.
I think it will be
Okay.
because based on what Megan and Aaron are saying, that before they would have the meeting at which we're just gonna have an informal
Yeah.
discussion, they would at least have spent a few minutes, okay, this is about what, well, let's look up this section, whatever
Yeah.
it is. And then their time at the meeting based on that.
Yeah. The
I
only
don't have-
other option
have
would
much
be and I think we've talked about this, or maybe we've talked about this and it wasn't talked about at the planning board, having a workshop that's like kind of open office hours sort of a thing with the planning board, but maybe not necessarily with AKRF and so it's not,
Mhm.
at the first, I don't know, half an hour where, people can come and ask questions with something on the back of a napkin. Now, they're not getting the same
I was gonna say,
guidance,
they-
right?
they may
But they're
not be
getting pretty good guidance. I mean, enough to know maybe but I don't know. If there's a
I guess
concern
it
about,
depends on what it is the question.
So-
yeah,
If we apply it, it's probably going to cost more money to keep track of it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
You
what
know?
I'm concerned. I don't know.
And,
if
Right.
it'd be
you know,
worth it,
like
but-
whatever, people want to build a swimming pool, people want to put in addition, they're prepared to pay tens of thousands of dollars anyways, and this $500 fee is going to get them the best advice before they go in. They can decide whether they want to or not, or just put in the application and,
And if they
take a
hire
dive.
Professionals, they're
They could
they're
do
not
that.
going to do this.
Right.
They're not going to come for a pre-application review when they've hired professionals, because
Right.
they already know what to do. It's
Right.
the regular
Does it-
guy who's a little unsure, well, am I allowed to do this, or can I do that? And he's gone to James and he's still confused.
Yeah.
That
Does
kind of-
Does it happen a lot or no?
No, but it happened, I'd say in the last year, we've had about 2 or 3 of these phone calls
Okay.
where people they want to talk to me, or they want,
Yeah.
and the advice has been that I shouldn't have private conversations with
Mhm.
people, and I don't.
Right.
So that kind of leaves
Right.
this
Yeah.
void.
I mean, I guess it all
If
makes
it's-
sense.
If it's only that number,
Yeah,
it's not that burdensome.
Yeah,
I have no problem with
I
that.
don't have a problem.
yeah.
I'll go along.
Do we have to
with
make
that.
a motion?
We probably should.
Okay.
All right.
So somebody do
okay,
that.
so I'd like to make a motion to allow the planning board to charge a $500 fee for a workshop application. Workshop,
I was calling it a
Consultation.
pre-application
Pre-
meeting.
for a pre-application meeting with the planning board.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And also, Susan, James is no longer with us. Jonathan Alongo is our new building inspector.
I was just.
So
just
I was
made a
just
note
gonna do
here
that
to-
myself,
yeah,
too,
to-
because
I
she
actually thought James was behind me.
No.
One of you referenced the
So-
building.
Yeah.
James must be here.
And on the flip side, Jonathan, this is Susan Meaning, who's the
Susan,
chair of the planning board. Okay. All right, very good.
Thank you,
Okay,
Susan.
Thank you,
so
Susan.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Susan,
that.
thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, Susan.
Hey, Joe.
Good. Are we getting into Bridge, New York tonight?
Well, I think we have to discuss that. Absolutely.
Okay. You want to start? I'm sort of at loss at what's happening right now.
So where we left off at last meeting, we were going to try to have a bond resolution
I know
adopted
that, yeah, I
for
know
tonight.
that, but That's
So
that's not.
that's where we left off for the general public. That's where we left off at last meeting. And now it is to my understanding that that is not possible for tonight. So Megan is going to tell us when that's going to be possible.
Hopefully that will be possible next month.
We don't have time for next month.
We definitely don't. have that.
Okay,
So what that needs to
We have
happen
have a
is
special meeting.
we need to say as soon as possible.
okay.
And once that is done, we will have to schedule a special meeting to adopt this.
What is the deadline?
Well, the deadline's basically passed as far as getting started. We're behind. We have to deal with the bond resolution, sample resolution, the master bridge, local agreement, the ROW has been prepared. I would suggest also during your endeavors that I don't know if you're aware of the contract proposal from Colliers. That has not been seen by our attorney yet. If it has been seen, I've heard nothing about it. They should review that before you sign it.
Yeah.
And accept it. Those are the sequences. That's the
And
sequences.
then, Joe, what we discussed at the earlier meeting is the Bridge New York Culvert Local Project Agreement with
Yep,
DOT.
yep.
Perhaps we should get this signed tonight.
I don't know that. I'm told, I don't know if you got an email from Kathleen, that number will be done by the state.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, if it is complete and we want to sign it, that's fine.
Because I don't know, Megan,
But I don't think that's the step we have to take. I think we have to do the bond resolution first.
and then sign
And then
this?
and then sign that.
Okay,
That's
Okay.
what I would.
okay.
suggest.
Yeah.
All right, so do you need a copy of this? Did you see that at all? Okay, yeah, okay. We'll make sure
I
that
think you-
happens.
I think you have all that, but please.
We-
Okay.
give
We've,
it to her, but,
I'll make sure that.
yeah. But, yeah, feel free to take one.
okay, right.
All right. Tonight we signed my 284 contract with you, which, as you know, is a contract for me to use the monies, I believe it's $227,000 for road repairs and such, notwithstanding the other things such as Killorn Road and obviously Bridge New York are not funded by this $227,000 that we do every year. You will not see any CHIPS money being allocated in that 284 contract because I don't have to do that now. And I do not know until April how much money I have. I will not know the prices until the plant opens and the oil prices come out. So instead of amending my contract, which I have done year in, year out, I've decided that it's best to wait until that happens. It is not necessary right now. That one is. So if you just take a look at it, I have signed it. It needs to be signed in duplicate. Your storms, you saw them, 15 inches approximately up on Tower Hill, 2 inches of water shortly thereafter. So your dirt's a little messy. Um, Everything else basically survived. We did have some flooding. We still have water running off hillsides, rock ledges. We are out every morning at 2:30 a.m. This is why you do winter watch, because they freeze overnight and then come sheets of ice. And so somebody is out, sometimes two people are out during the course of, after these storms, to salt these areas or sand them, as it were.
How is Kalaran?
Okay, I mean, it didn't, I mean, since we fixed that main drain that we found a few years back, it certainly didn't take out the driveways or collapse the road or throw all of the, the stone out of the ditches, so.
But there hasn't been any frost in the ground either,
Yeah.
Well, there was a little,
was there?
yeah, and it came out, and that morning at 2 a.m. or 2:30, we were out hitting those roads again because the frost came out and we found it, and it was on all the dirt roads.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it was enough to turn your car sideways, that's for sure. So, and we caught it and we put the sand out. And the weather cooperated shortly thereafter, it went up to 40, 45 degrees and by the
Yeah,
afternoon of the summer.
right.
So there's not much frost in there now.
How'd the guys do in the storm and the equipment? Okay.
Tired, they're angry.
Yeah.
That's what they are every day. So,
But no injuries, no
no.
equipment
No,
blow
well,
ups.
oh yeah, equipment, 2 trucks down, 69 and D6. See what's happening with it.
Major stuff or
I don't know yet. D6 wasn't shifting real well this morning. Charlie's been on it most of the day. We'll see if it's minor, just some fluids or whatever. But we didn't see anything on the ground. It sits inside, so I'm not sure it was fluids, but we'll find out. Touching on Kalaran, you do have the final from Colliers regarding it. The survey has been completed. You'll see that in the maps and so on. My suggestion would be that we get them down here at some point and meet with them and take your time, look at it, and any questions that you would have, that would be the time to ask. If you want, I'll see what is good for them and then what's good for you.
Yeah.
To meet with them.
Okay.
If you want.
Yep. That would be good.
And that's all I got.
when you read the Collier's report,
Yeah, I've gone through it.
it was pretty much,
Well, it's the same thing that you saw before,
Well, it's-
but now it has the survey.
yeah,
And it also has the traffic study. So,
but I mean, the end result was pretty much what we all thought it was going to be, I think,
it is,
you know.
But, what's gonna happen is they're gonna lay out, if we get going, well, hopefully we get going on it, they're gonna lay out where these ditches have to be, where this drainage has to be on your map, so you see where we're infiltrating a private property possibly or not. So they got some work to do, but to get started.
Going back to the runoff and the rain itself. And I know you do a drive around.
Oh, yeah.
The areas that were damaged 2 years ago, and we had to replace like on South Road and College Lane, and even down where we're looking at replacing the bridge. The runoff was pretty substantial, but
It was
not damaged.
tremendous. It was over the dam out at Tarryville. I mean, it was over the damn wall, not the hill. It was over the wall.
But it's not creating any damage or risk of,
We got out, we put lights to it. The only water is coming out of the overflow system. There's no water coming out of the other side of what we built. It's in real good shape.
and the one on Stanford's doing well.
One on Stanford is good. And the one on Oak Summit, survived again.
I know some of the drains along South Road that you guys cleaned out are now free flowing, and that's
There's
helping.
nowhere for me to put it.
Yeah,
To
Yeah.
be honest with you, at this point, you get 2 inches of rain after 15 inches of snow, and there's just nowhere to put it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be in the roads, it's gonna be in the yard, it's gonna be everywhere.
Well, we're not by the Passaic River anyway.
yeah.
Really.
Well, Pleasant
Okay.
Valley.
Any
Thank you,
questions?
thank you. No, Joe, anybody have any questions for Joe?
No, that's good.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Lisa, you want to give us your report?
Yes. But not a lot on this list. And as usual, we're working on exemptions. All the renewals went out. We had a number of them coming in already. And then just trying to get through all the permits. And some sales too. And that's pretty much it for what's going on. Aside from what we had last time, which is table to next month. You already approved.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
And then the other thing is, Betsy Moss did step up to the plate and did get the intermunicipal agreement completed, which I did email all of you. Did you have a chance?
Yep.
to
Mhm.
Take a look at that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They presented it at last month's meeting and they did sign off on it. So I do have the 2 originals that I just gave Chrissy. That,
They just need to be signed.
right, I
Okay.
just want to make sure that you had a chance to
Yeah.
review it.
Mhm.
So then we keep one in our records. I'd like to scan it myself actually, and then we have to send one back to them.
What's the deadline for the exemption renewals? Is there a deadline? March 1st.
For renewals, I'm sorry, what do you mean for people to submit them?
Yeah,
Or you said, I'm sorry.
you said, renewal.
Renewals, yeah, or new applications. It's the same.
Same, March 1st.
Yep. Yeah, that's for the whole county.
And we're getting the stuff from the village now. That's all worked
Well, we
out.
haven't received anything further from them, but that's okay. They don't usually have a lot towards the end of the year. It's usually a handful, but I expect,
But you have a contact person there now? They have a new person?
well, I think it's just her daughter that's helping her. I don't think that there's another staff. They just brought them in part-time to help with filing and scanning.
Okay.
They
But
said
my
that
contact is still Sarah.
Sarah, yeah, she said that it was gonna be all digitalized,
I
you
haven't
know,
heard anything.
this
yet.
month, so maybe I'll check that out.
Yeah, usually the
Yeah.
last batch we get from them is pretty light.
Yeah, by the end of January is what she was anticipated,
Mhm,
that it would
which is
be
fine, yeah.
available.
Because there's a lot of action in the village, construction and,
There is,
I mean,
I didn't feel like
I
there
see
was-
it.
There's not a lot
She
of
felt like a lot of it
brand,
was
there's just a
deferred.
lot of continuation, you know.
Right,
you
she,
know.
Well-
she said a lot of it was like deferred maintenance stuff, actually, like roofs and stuff, so that we don't actually add value for.
No, I know.
sometimes. We change the effective year for that if they're doing the whole outside. Whatever else, other renovations they're doing along with that, so it depends on the scope of the project. But yeah, big projects, I mean, there's a few, but I don't think there's a lot. We have a lot in town, but, so compared to what we normally have going. Ongoing, a number of them are going, going on for multiple years. So,
Okay,
so the big thing is the intermunicipal
Yep.
agreement, so,
perfect.
unless you have any other questions for me.
Anybody?
So we were waiting on the public hearing, right? And that's going to be for next.
Right,
Next
we
month.
need to have that finished by March
So,
1st.
so Megan, have you met Lisa?
Yeah.
Lisa,
Oh,
have
yes.
you met me?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so we got that all sorted. Okay,
There was notice,
Okay.
and there was
Yes,
one.
it's in the Poughkeepsie Journal and on the website as of today.
okay.
Okay,
With
All right.
and there
confirmation.
is one amendment we were making to it, which does not have to be introduced to the board again, because it was already passed by resolution, which we discussed.
Mhm.
Megan is gonna add that in there, just to reiterate everything that was done in the past. That's kind of what the county has asked us to do, just to try to keep everything cleaner. And in the past, some stuff was done by resolution, not local law, and it really needs to be done by local law. We're not supposed to be using resolutions for modifying the exemptions. So that was not really clear, I guess. Sure, and I wasn't aware of that in the past.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
So it's a little bit of housekeeping, but.
Yep,
it's,
that's
Yep,
fine.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Needs to be done.
trying to get to it all.
Yep.
It's a lot.
All right,
A lot of it's Pandora's box.
yeah, thanks,
Yeah, it's
Lisa.
all good. We're making good progress and things are going well with Claire. She's not really doing a lot in the village yet. I actually have her working on one condo that we got some, good amount of floor plans and information she's gonna be working on. And she's been working on some projects that are really helping us, helping Michael too. There's some aspects of what he was working on that he just didn't really have time to get to. So she's been kind of helping him so he can kind of keep us moving forward at a faster pace. So I really want her to start working a little more independently, as I had planned for her to kind of focus on the village. She's done a few, but this is kind of her first
Yeah,
project, and so, but everything's been going well so far. It's good to have the extra help,
Good,
so we can keep moving forward.
very good.
okay.
Thank you.
Good.
Thanks, Lisa.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
I would just,
Yes.
I would get a hold of the village and be sure that you keep that going, because I think there's more stuff going on in the village than we probably know about. I mean,
Okay.
permit wise, I mean,
I did speak with her about it not
Okay.
that long ago, and
Okay.
she did kind of tell me that, yeah, there's a few, but most of it is really just, deferred maintenance things, upkeep. And, there's a lot of air conditioning system, or they heat pumps and that kind of
yeah.
stuff. But generators, a lot of that,
Yeah.
that's easy, quick
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, there's a few that I'm aware of there. I will check with her again.
Thanks.
Yeah, and see what the timeframe is of getting the last of it. Okay.
Good.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Lisa.
Lisa. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Have a good night.
You too. Lois?
Yes, first, I want to apologize for the top of my report, saying it's for November.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's what happens when we're kind of in a rush to get things together. So I will correct that and give a fresh copy to Chrissy for her. The bank recs, they're completed through November. Just the general account and the payroll account. The payroll account is off by $9.52.
Oh, man.
Okay. I just received December's.
We'll
on
chip in.
Monday. I just received December's, so I'll start working on them next
Yeah.
week. The transfer station billing is up to date. There are a couple small little invoices that I'm trying to collect on. It seems like people maybe have rented somewhere, came in, got a permit, took stuff to the dump. Not crazy amount, but, and then they move. And then I can't send them a bill because I don't have the address or whatever, but, whatever, a couple have just keep getting returned.
Mhm.
And I think it's like a couple $100, but, like I said, I wish there was a way that we could have somebody come in and prepay before they go up to the dump, instead of trying to collect $6 for, a year or whatever. Still kind of have that in the back of my head, like how could we?
How we
Right,
could
well-
do it,
How
yeah.
do we do it?
Well,
Yeah.
while we're talking about that, maybe what we could do is get Jimmy and Joe a small little copy machine in their shed up there. And somebody comes in, they give, they have a lot of stuff,
Right,
construction debris, stuff like that's expensive to get rid of. To make a photocopy of their driver's license and their registration to their vehicle, something like that. This way we have it on record. And I think we spoke in November about, the budget for the transfer station. And I think now that it's a new year, maybe we could close out the year and get an exact number so that we can work on that to try, and
right,
no rush.
right.
It's something that we
We
would,
have a debit card.
That's what I was wondering,
Yeah.
what that thing is that you can, people
Well,
can set up, yeah, like square, that they have it, like farmer's
Square,
market, that are
Well-
really
Do
simple
something
thing.
like our Square system.
Yeah, and then
We
it's
have
just
to have
done.
something up there, obviously.
well, the punch cards like they have for the garbage.
Yeah.
We could have a punch card for construction debris.
Right.
They'd have to stop here and they could buy $100 one or a $150 one or a $200 one, then they punch it for the, okay, that's an $18 load.
Right, right. It's just so.
Oh, right, yeah.
Just,
Yeah,
like I said, it's,
so we're gonna work on that
Yeah.
and so maybe we get a closeout number for the year. And I'll talk to Jimmy and Joe and see what they think they could do too.
there's also a couple residents who've been past due in the past. Finally came in and paid, but now they're lagging, and it's the same couple residents, so.
Well, maybe we could send them a letter and tell them we're not gonna renew their dump permit anymore if they don't pay on time.
Right.
30 days, right?
I mean, they're on, Jim keeps a list of, who owes or whatever,
Yeah.
the behind, but.
But it's a great service to the community and they take really good care of the place and
I still have to go up there.
it's important. It's an important place.
Yeah, I'm taking our
Field
tour
trip.
yet.
You have to take a tour. Yeah.
I haven't been up there in 25 years, probably. The monthly revenue from the Justice Court's been received through October. The building department's December report's been received, and the town clerk audit through November has been received. I know Chrissy's working on December, so I should have that shortly. And we're gonna help the court clerk. I'm not sure if she was quite aware of the procedure of the month end, so we're gonna go over that.
All right.
I completed the federal and state payroll tax returns for the fourth quarter. And I have the W-2s and 1099s. I will send them out next week. And then I will start gathering the information for the annual financial return, which is now a different layout and online system. The format's a little different. It's supposed to be better, but I have participated in a webinar.
And not
And it
easy.
doesn't look easier now, so,
Mm.
and I have budget amendments, for this evening. After I'm sure about what money's left in that building improvement line that we set aside for the roof, I want to take that money and put it in the savings account.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't get lost in fund balance. So,
Okay.
I do have a spreadsheet of what's in that account and for each thing that was allocated for, so.
Okay.
And then this, Joe last month, I say Joe, the truck, we made an extra payment last month.
Right.
This month's the final payment for the 4x4,
Beautiful.
farm payment it is. So that'll be paid off. Do you want to go over the amendments?
I don't, but
It doesn't look
when's the
like I-
ARPA money?
This-
When do we have to get that all
We
done?
have to have something at least in a purchase order or contract form or whatever by the end of this year. And that project has to be completed by 2026. Or we have to return the money.
And how much is it?
I think. we have to
96.
go,
According to this, it's 96,454.
Oh,
that's, or where are you looking?
ARPA recovery
That's
fund.
the bank account.
That's the, yes. So, last month we transferred, what we had allocated for Cowan Road, the final monies of that, so.
okay.
The amendment to cover the consultant to
Yeah, I was gonna
employee
ask what you
expense.
said.
Right.
That's kind of a little interesting.
It's right on your first page.
It's the second one.
Second one down, amendment to cover the consultant to
Yeah.
employee expense. What does that
Yeah.
mean?
We, I don't know why I put,
Where you have it
I
in
think-
the assessors, you're moving
Yeah,
money
I
there
think
and
that
it just doesn't
is-
make sense with.
no, it's not correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Right, this is me rushing to get this to you.
Yeah, so that doesn't,
There's, the assessors, had the consultant line for, Claire, who's helping.
Yeah.
And we transferred that and
It's not
put her on payroll.
okay.
I'm not sure then if we do I have to wait then for this amendment since I'm not presenting this
Which
account number right?
What's different?
This one. This should be a 13554 number. We had an assessor's consultant line and then we put Claire on the payroll. So I was taking what was left in the.
You could just tell us and we can accept it
Yeah,
as
okay.
noted.
I
So
would
just tell us what it is,
Say
Lois.
it's fine, just
Okay,
make
Yeah.
sure it's not-
I could give you the exact number, account number.
Just like the description. like-
Assessor's consultant.
Yeah,
Right.
Was,
okay,
and now she's part-time clerk.
okay,
Okay.
all right, so that clear,
And
okay.
there's a
Yes.
different account number,
Yes. It would be,
if you don't read it
No,
out.
no. It would be 13554.01. 30.21.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're moving that to the salary line.
Yeah.
So do we need a motion to accept the amendments?
Yes.
Yes, yeah,
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so second.
to accept it as noted, right? And then I'll
Noted.
second.
Okay.
All-
Yeah.
all in
With the
favor?
Sorry about that.
No bother, yeah. See,
Joe
we're paying
seconded.
attention.
Thank you.
No bother.
Joe seconded, all in
Yeah.
favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Lois, I just have a question.
Yeah.
On your November board meeting report, the fourth page supervisor's report for December 2023, analysis of 12-month financial activity dash 2023. Then it goes on to say why you have to do this. Under
Right.
general funds,
Yes,
it says revenue as of 12/31/23, and it gives a million, whatever.
right,
And then it has actual to be realized.
yes,
Then it has 10%, 0.42, and remaining.
yes,
Am I reading this correctly? $202,017.69 was not collected.
yes.
So we're
But-
off our budget. And
Not
therefore that
really.
1042 remaining it represents that amount.
But in our reports, and I might start to do this differently because I can see the confusion.
Because that should be a
Okay,
negative.
sure.
Yeah,
right?
you've
Or
explained this
negative
to us
202
before.
In revenue.
Explain this to us.
If 202 should be realized, but part of that revenue is a revenue line called fund balance.
So you'll
that
pull it
we're
from there.
using. So
Okay.
it's not, what actually, we are off about 25,000 in that mortgage tax. So that is part of it.
So
Yeah,
the same
so
thing would be
between-
true when we go down to B fund, where we had budgeted 503,000, the actual is 403,000. So we came in a negative 100,000, which is 19% remaining, meaning there's 19% that was not collected
That,
or not realized.
yes,
Okay, now if we go back up to general fund,
but
I'm
also,
just trying to
I'm
understand
sorry,
this. Go ahead.
we used fund balance as well.
I understand how
And
you're
I-
balancing it,
Yeah, I think I'm
Right.
gonna
but
break out another column.
so let's go up to general fund expenditures.
Yes,
We had budgeted 1.9 million in expenditures. We spent actually 1.7.
yes,
Then this column with percentages, 90.21%
has been used,
Right.
has been used.
yes,
All right. And then the little qualifier underneath payroll for December. So that 74,000 is not represented in the expenditures yet.
yes, it is.
Oh, it is in there.
Yes, that's just breaking out. letting
Okay.
you know what
Oh, the payroll was.
All right, okay.
And the same thing down in the revenue,
For
that
B
is
fund?
between chip, yeah, DB fund.
DB
highway
Oh,
fund,
DB
Yeah, okay,
fund.
all right.
Is, part of that is also fund balance, and last year we did put CHIPS money in there. So that would be that number, and like I said, I think to avoid any more confusion.
Yeah,
Like, do
you've
real
explained this to us
revenue.
before.
Yeah, we
Right.
do a column with real revenue,
Right.
and then fund balance.
So let me
and
understand
take the
then,
fund balance out.
as I'm working this out in my head. Under general, it says there's a little qualifier. All property taxes levied for 2023 have been received from the tax collector. So that is the revenue under the term budget. That actual money is the tax money that was collected, 1.7.
Plus all other revenues, transfer station
All
revenue,
under revenues.
town clerk's
Okay.
revenues, court clerk's revenues.
So I'm trying to get a sense, going back to Lisa's department, on a yearly basis, are we hitting our tax collection for what the property should be assessed for?
She gives me the numbers. It's based off of,
Correct.
yeah,
But I'm saying from year to year, are we fluxing down? In other words, we're getting less in our property tax values and
I
therefore
thought
collecting
they
less?
went
Are we
up
getting
a
more?
little. I thought they went
They,
up a
I mean,
little
it
this
goes
year.
up every year on
Yeah, that was
the
a-
bill.
on the
so-
Good
bill,
question
right.
for
But I
Lisa
think our
too.
assessed values were a little
So
higher.
plugging in those fund balances kind of throws us off a little bit. So we
That's
can
what
clean
I'm
that up a
talking
little bit.
about, right. And if you take a look, you can find, on the operating
Right.
statement, you know, the specific numbers.
Right.
Where if it's in, like, say the revenue, if it's in parentheses,
Right.
that means we've collected more
Right.
than
You were
we
over,
had
right.
anticipated.
And you anticipate.
And B fund is, has collected more.
I like this report on the accounts too. It gives us each account from the bank.
Yeah.
That's a nice clean report.
And so we're totally, when it says comprehensive plan here and what's in that account, we're totally up to date with all the invoices that you've received so far from Nan and
Well,
As of December.
yes, I was thinking. Yes,
Okay.
and yes,
okay, so
Yeah.
this is what's remaining.
yes.
Okay,
So I think we're almost back to where we started.
Yeah.
There used to be a balance in there years ago.
yeah. Well, we will have some
Yeah.
fees coming out of that for Nan and for legal, so.
We need to beef that up more.
Yeah.
And the assessor revale, that's the money
Yeah,
we
yeah,
put
no,
aside
yeah.
for the
Yeah.
revale.
Correct.
No, I
Yes.
think this is
I
pretty
have
helpful.
to ask the bank why it doesn't show up
We'll-
on this report.
Right. Thanks, Lois.
But yeah, all in all, I think our fund balance is a healthy fund balance,
Yeah.
so.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lois. Yeah,
Yes.
how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Last night, I had the recreation meeting and we had three commissioners show up to that. Jason Simonowski's term is up and he wanted to renew, and I think you.
We did
approved
approve
that.
that.
Mhm.
So he's here for another 4 years, which is great. And we also do have an open seat on the commission. Was that announced last night?
No,
I don't believe it was,
I don't-
no,
It's not,
I'm not sure if it was.
no.
it
But
wasn't.
I think it's been posted though, right? Have we posted it?
think
Well, it
was
needs to be posted.
I can double check.
You know, it might be help. I don't know if you're still sending out the emails, you know, with kids that are doing winter basketball or whatever, but maybe on that email blast, you could send something out about there being an opening.
If there's somebody interested.
Yeah, because not everybody checks the website unless they're looking for something and it's hard.
Right.
We're having
Just
some trouble
follow
navigating it.
whatever You guys do, whatever your announcement looks like, proceed.
Yeah.
Yeah, just saying we're having an opening and we'd love interested parents to, you know, whatever your application process is, but you might get a response that way.
I
We're
think-
okay with the idea of if we don't get a big response for that, maybe tweaking our bylaws that allows one person on our commission to be a non-resident,
Yeah.
but that's still in the school district. So
Oh, okay.
it depends on how much response we get to that.
Just a side issue too, because this just got revealed tonight that we missed the vacancy. Chrissy, perhaps if you would send out to every committee that has volunteers on it to ask them to please keep you abreast, always keep you abreast of what the openings are on those boards.
Gotcha.
Because sometimes it gets to us secondhand or it just comes up
Absolutely.
at a monthly meeting where
We have two on
the
the. planning
vacancy
board.
occurred a
right?
month ago.
Yeah.
So we can get those
I think
kinds of
one
things
in
out
a,
quickly. Also, they should
Alternate.
assess
I think.
or check with you, where are those volunteers in their tenureship?
And,
Because some of them may be rolling off and not even realize they're coming off
Right.
what's his name? That's Stanford
Okay.
Road.
and want to come back on.
Yeah,
Or no,
yeah, Dick.
yeah, he's off.
As for human resources for the recreation, I'd like to welcome Matt Purcell. He's our new groundskeeper. He's doing a great job. He's very organized. He's very eager. He's already made numerous lists of upgrades, ordered the new doors for here with help from Jonathan, removed snow from the town hall and the park. We did an inspection. He and I did a quick inspection of the park, and discovered pretty much every roof leaks at the park. He can do little repairs now, but maybe a year from now, we have to put it in the budget to maybe redo the roofs there. There was a big leak in the concession stand in the fan. He said that the vent flashing around there needs to be replaced, so that's something he can do, which is great because
Yeah.
now we don't have to go out to bid for something. He's really handy,
Good.
as was Jonathan.
Right.
And he's gonna have a meeting with you coming up, go over everything.
Yeah, I thought I'd let him get his feet wet a little bit before I
Well,
give him.
they're
About-
It sounds like literally.
I got a 4-page,
Yeah, I said it sounds like they're not just figuratively wet, but literally
Yeah.
wet, yeah.
I got about a 4-page list to give him. So.
Yes.
And he's probably ready. I
Yeah.
would get to him as soon as you can.
He went over the windows up in the assessor's office and all kinds of stuff. It's now time to start advertising for camp. We were talking about minimum wage, it went up again, about 6%. So, we wanted to look at raising the rates of camp again for 6%, because all the kids that work there are getting minimum wage. When we looked at the dates for camp, normally what happens is school ends on like a Thursday or Friday, and we start camp on a Tuesday. This year, it's a really late end of school year. The school year is ending on the 26th. Normally, it's like the 21st or 22nd. So what we proposed last night in our commission meeting is that we're starting the day after camp ends, 27th, and we're going until
After school,
August
You mean school
2nd.
after school.
School
ends.
ends, yes.
Yeah.
And we're going until August 2nd, so we're now offering everyone 26 days of camp instead of 28 days. And it'll be at the same rate that we did last year because of the 6% increase.
Okay.
Facility rentals. Last year, when we had people sign up for pavilion rental, many of them said, we'll just come up with the money when we show up for the pavilion rental. Well, because of all the rain, there were many people that didn't pay for that pavilion rental. So I'm asking if permission from you that we, when people sign up for a pavilion rental, they have to pay for it by the end of the week that they're reserving it. So we don't come.
Kind of makes sense.
And there is no money back if there's bad weather, as we.
It's covered. Right.
Right.
Non-refundable. Yeah, as long as we're clear that it's non-refundable.
That's too bad. We can't.
What was that?
That's too bad with bad weather. We can't.
Or maybe they
You know
could
what I mean?
reschedule to another, a mutually
Well,
agreed
if
upon
I
date,
rent-
where they still have
If
to
I
pay
go to
for
rent
it.
something and it's unavailable, but the person that rented it didn't show up because of the bad weather, and I'm still willing to rent that space
She
because
did,
it's
she
bad
does.
weather. No, I've rented space for my own family and
Yeah.
I've had terrible weather and we still had the party.
Still have a party. Yeah.
The other problem,
Okay.
last summer, not when Danielle took over, but the summer before, we had several August, September, and October commitments to the place with no money having been collected, with no shows. But we had already hired the lifeguard, even though the water wasn't available, to watch the gate. So we incurred that expense with no revenue stream. And there was, very similar to what Danielle presented to us on the senior trips, where they're committing,
Yeah.
but they're not showing. So I think this is a good way. If people put money out, they're gonna come.
So
I'll make that motion to allow that to
Yeah.
happen.
All right, second to that?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So there was also talk about getting apparel for the town of Washington staff, with the logos. I think that there was talk about getting an inspector, the groundskeeper. Joe does all of his work. From what I understand, he's not thrilled with who he gets his apparel from. So it just so happened that an LL Bean catalog came on my desk just the other day, and I
I
did.
saw that. I got one too.
They actually, they do great.
They do great
Stuff,
embroidery
yeah.
work, they're good quality.
What about-
So,
Did you check United Uniform?
Yeah.
That's, they're up in Buffalo and they're great for municipal. And I think they might be on the OGS. So United Uniform.
Oh, that's great.
do you have a list of OGS stuff since?
No, but you can go on OGS.
It's really kind of, it's not as easy as it sounds.
Nothing in.
Yeah, no, it's not bad. Apparel,
I'm trying to find.
apparel, clothing, yeah.
Not just apparel, but,
But what?
things that, if we wanted to get picnic tables, that,
You know, send me an email and I can look it up for you if you can't find it.
Okay.
And yeah, because I pretty much
Because the
navigated
state
it for a long
parks.
time. Yeah,
do
yeah.
you want me to do that before I go into, so I already talked to LL Bean about, getting.
Well,
Or maybe-
Danielle-
maybe price it out.
Danielle,
See what
just
the-
compare it and
Yeah.
you decide. I mean, use your own judgment,
But the
but
first order
United,
is gonna be $2,000, that's why I wanted to go to you guys and get approval for that.
you might, United Uniform might give you less, I'm sure,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you know if that's something that should?
I don't know. I will look at.
Find out, and you can also look not just the price, but if you like the
Quality.
quality and come back to, you know, you can send us an
And,
email or.
You're gonna get more than one price, right? Not just LL Bean, right? You're gonna get United, are you gonna get another one?
Well, it might get more
Don't
if
you
we,
think it
if
would be,
if the OGS has
you
a
know,
list of people.
but if you get it off the OGS, I mean, usually they give you state pricing where you wouldn't need to because they're the guaranteed lowest.
They guarantee lowest bid, yeah.
So, but I don't know, again, for your own judgment, you might want to just get another.
Sure.
If United Uniform doesn't work out.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
say that? Is that, you know? But, and another question, do we get shirts?
Yeah, well, that's what I was hoping. Ask everybody, if they,
You know-
what they want.
You know, like
I
councilman.
mean, we've been talking about this for like 6 months now that, we wanted to get these, so, yes.
We don't have
Okay.
TV stations in the area where you
So
gotta
when-
wear that in front of the
when
emergency.
the Millbrook Hounds was happening,
Mhm.
parents could purchase T-shirts and we could purchase jackets and we could purchase stuff for the kids for their uniform. Let me find out I know Eliza Dyson organized it and did it. I'll find out who they used. Because that was a big vendor. It was like 4 uniforms for sports uniforms, but they were good quality and,
A lot of the sports uniforms are go through, SCORE.
okay, I can ask.
But Danielle, there's another local Poughkeepsie,
Millman.
Millman's.
They're
Millman's
not
in
in- they're not
Poughkeepsie.
embroidery, I don't think, I think they're just.
They do. I'm telling you, yes, they do.
I mean, you might need
I
a,
just had some made up for Spring Hill.
Because he told you.
I just had some made up for Spring Hill.
I will
So
call
you
them.
can see a
Th- th-
sample.
No,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, well, what did I wear this afternoon? Oh, Joe's not here, but I had a Spring Hill sweatshirt on.
Oh, okay.
That was from Millman's.
Yeah, Millman's right off the arterial.
Yeah, they've been there
For-
100 years.
Forever,
Forever.
forever.
Yep.
All right, well,
Okay.
I
One more
guess
thing.
I made my commission.
Childcare deductions for taxes, I don't know if everybody knows that you can, deduct your, childcare through camp and through our toddler program, but I did make up, letters for all the people in the toddler program and sent it to them. But if anyone's listening that have kids that went to camp, you can also get your tax deduction from, well, our website has our tax number, so people can use that for your taxes. And if they go into their accounts, you can see how much money you spent on camp. But if they want a letter from us, they can just contact me, email me, and I can make that happen.
that is great.
Yeah.
Next week, there's a group of us meeting to go over some website stuff, and one of the things, I know we talked about sending, emails to, or either social media or some way to communicate with residents that's us doing the outreach besides just them having to go look on the website. So, and maybe we use the email list that we have through the rec or whatever that would be a great, that's a great service that our residents would, that's a wonderful thing for them to know about, like us being proactive and helping them do
It's
that.
easy for a small circle because there's only 12 of them,
Right.
but
The camp is much larger.
Maybe you
So-
wouldn't have thought it, yeah, you know?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I would
I
think
mean, if we
so.
wanted to do it, then we could spend the time and give it to them digitally. I did it digital and I gave.
Do you have the
copies.
emails of everyone, when you were sending out email blasts last year from camp? To the camp
Each account
parents?
has to put an email to their account.
But do you have a group serve or a list serve with all of the, from last
Yeah.
summer?
Mhm.
Maybe
I
just
can make
send them an email, group email, and say, I just want to make you all aware that this is an option. I just think residents would appreciate it.
That's it for me.
Oh, okay.
It's been a long week here.
Time to wonder.
It's been a long
Okay.
week.
Okay, Jonathan, you just have your report, my friend.
Yep. So for the month of December, the building department did 32 inspections and site visits, 14 building permits were issued and 4 building permits were renewed. At the end of December, there were 12 expired building permits. If they were people who had to still have projects ongoing, they've all been contacted, they've all had received an email or a letter. A few came to me and I either closed the permit out or they paid the renewal fee and renewed them. 8 cases of fire inspections being overdue or having failed previous inspections. I'm working with the list James gave me to verify who, if they're a building or a company who still needs to have one done. And if so, getting in contact with them in order to do the fire inspection. 2 fire inspections were conducted. 1 new complaint was received in December regarding possible work being done without a permit. An investigation was conducted, but no violations were confirmed at the time of the site visit. 1 permit renewal has submitted an appeal of the building fees as the current fee schedule is set at 55% for renewal. As the initial fee is based on square footage and valid for 12 months, followed by 2 possible renewals of 6 months each. This has resulted in permit renewal fees for this project of over $4,500 each for each renewal. The builder's appealing it as to him that seems excessive for a simple renewal. For zoning,
Jonathan, who approves or disapproves?
so from what James
The
told me,
appeal.
it's pretty much the building inspector is the one who
You can waive it or you
you
can,
can waive it. And from the way he described to me his process for doing that, it kind of made sense, which was, project's been going on for a year. They're a month or a couple weeks away from finishing. They have, say, 100 square foot of 1,000 square foot renovation.
yeah,
To charge them 1,000 square foot,
no, I agree.
so he would work with them and adjust fees based on that.
So you're the judge and jury on that.
99% of the time. yes.
Okay. When it was,
Barring any kind of crazy
Challenge.
challenge to it.
okay,
So, at that point, then I would, talk with you guys and see, or zoning or boarding or whoever.
Yeah.
Planning board.
Yeah.
And run from there. For zoning, 3 municipal searches were completed. 1 FOIL request was received and completed in December. 2 site visits were conducted and no new zoning, complaints were received.
good.
Very good.
Made it to a month.
Yeah. Well, beginning was a little easy. I had,
Yeah.
Yeah.
still had James give me a little bit of guidance, but it's been pretty smooth sailing taking it over, so.
That's good. That's good.
It'll get busy in spring for
Oh,
sure.
Yep,
Well, we're glad you like it, Johnson.
I do.
Glad to have you.
I really appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for the report.
Yep, you got it.
Okay, Chrissy,
Okay, so we picked up our tax roll from Dutchess County. We've updated our iTax system from 2023 to 2024. All bills are going out tomorrow. So we're all set for taxes. And the website, as we all know, has been an ongoing challenge. Unfortunately, it's a bit hard to navigate. So we have a meeting with Leslie and Susan Meany, I think, on the 18th of this
What
month.
happened with this new guy that we hired? It's supposed to be the,
It's not working out very well.
Oh, the IT people.
Yeah.
It's separate from the website.
That is
Oh.
separate from the website,
Oh,
but,
okay.
yeah, so hopefully we'll get some,
Yeah, well, we're gonna come up with a plan. Chrissy and I are gonna come up with a plan and
Okay.
figure out who we need to contact, what's happening, troubleshoot it, figure it out, and we'll report back on
Yeah.
right,
what the next steps are. But it's clear that we need to be proactive to figure out how to
good,
fix it.
absolutely, great.
and so
Okay.
that's all for me tonight.
Jonathan, before I forget, did you get a chance to go up and close out that building permit on that charging station? at
I'm
Ruby?
just going up tomorrow and do that. I did talk to him. He said anytime, so
Okay,
just some of the stuff I've been working on.
I know he's anxious to close that out. so,
Yeah, I just
okay,
have to do the final inspection on
Okay.
it, and I can close it out.
great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Mike,
Couple of things. Recreation update, the negotiation with Dutchess Day School went extremely well. The transition from the village basketball court up there, Danielle working with the athletic director and parents,
is that working out?
and that worked extremely well. Even the guests that attend games on Saturdays are extremely, thrilled with the space. They're adhering to no shoes on the court. They're actually bringing their own
Slippers.
shoe coverings or their own soft shoes.
That's wonderful.
So grandparents and player are walking in together with soft shoes on.
Has anybody complained about not being so close to where it used to be? They have to travel a bit? Good.
No, not after they walk in and see that facility.
Oh, good.
Plus the timing has been reduced, the commitment of, and the parking. I'm waiting to get back to the village board, giving them time to discuss what non-winter rental might possibly be in that hall. So that went extremely well. So kudos to Danielle for pulling that off.
Yeah.
Town court, court report, the first night of our new town justice took place Tuesday evening. They had quite a few people in attendance, well over mid-30. Heather has been sending out letters to try and retrieve dollars of parking violations in the village that people have ignored. That seems to be starting to roll in. In fact, she told me that she received one check for $300. So that's starting to occur. I don't have the figures of attendance at court for December. And I don't, as was reported, we don't have the dollar figures for the court for November or December. So I'm going to come in tomorrow, meet with Kristen and Heather and see if we can figure that out. I did report in the previous board meeting that there was a problem with the computer system communicating with Albany to transfer the dollars that Albany
Yeah.
then has to take out because the substitute judge had a different number than the number for this court system. So there seemed to be a little glitch there. So I'll come in tomorrow and we'll try and straighten that out. The ethics committee, I've spoken to Pam Scott, who's the chairman, and I've spoken to Chrissy. And between the two of them, they're going to schedule within January a new employee orientation meeting so that Pam can come in and explain the ethics procedures for the town of Washington under our ethics rules. But that will perhaps blossom into an annual, or not an annual, an as-needed meeting for new employees to go over ethics, to go over benefit packages, to go over all the things that a typical employee handbook would go over. So Chris is going to work with Pam, we'll get that worked out. The second thing under ethics, as we recall from last night, we did approve Ann Gifford to be a new member of the ethics committee. She has not been sworn in. So my question to legal is, she is not in the town, she's away.
Okay.
But because the ethics committee is an as-need meeting protocol, is there a way we can get her sworn in, even though she may not be present here in the town right now?
You know, Megan, I think that the state statute, we are able, the town board is able to not only conduct meetings by Zoom, but also,
That was going to be my question.
Well,
Can
so
she
if-
do it by Zoom?
yeah, I would assume that the same
Yes.
would probably, I mean, it's not the same exact thing, but it's,
But she also has a document to fill out.
Yeah,
correct?
she has to do an oath of office.
And you've given that to Kristen?
I sent it to Ann today.
Okay.
So she would have to fill that out,
Mhm.
and I would say that she could do that virtually as well.
Okay.
Okay, so she has a copy and then we could schedule.
So you could just contact her
Yeah.
and swear her in. Now, who has the authority to swear in someone like that?
Well,
Chrissy.
Chrissy can.
Chrissy
I can do it, yeah.
Okay, doesn't have to be a judge or something.
No, no.
Great. Okay. The last thing
Put your,
under my
Officially
report
vote on.
is the short-term rental committee update. We had a meeting last night. The second hearing on the draft number 3. And just to give a little bit of introduction into the resolution that will occur this evening, I just want to give a little bit of historical background here. Not only for the newspaper, but for people that were kind of struggling with this taking place in the town of Washington. And I'm going to get a little poetic here. In the early 20th century, specifically 1914, a writer who goes on to become the poet emeritus for the state of Vermont and a Pulitzer Prize winner 3 times, Robert Frost, wrote a poem called Mending Wall. And it was, and when questioned why he wrote it, he said that he was so enthralled with the environment of the rural community, particularly in New England, but also he did mention Eastern New York State. And if we look at our own community, we kind of mirror what New England was. And the poem is about 2 neighbors every spring walking their fence lines, their walls, and repairing the damage that occurred over the winter, either by hunters, trespassers, wildlife, or whatever. And the process of rebuilding that together became very impressive to Frost. And from that poem, which is a kind of an allegoric narrative, the phrase "good fences make for good neighbors" has become a colloquial saying that has occurred. And Frost, just like every artist, sometimes borrows from previous artists. And Frost admitted that he had borrowed from another writer, an E. Rogers, who wrote in 1640 in Old English. And I'll quote what he wrote that Frost commented on. "A good fence helps us to keep peace between neighbors, but let us take heed that we make it not a high stone wall to keep us from meeting." In other words, having clear boundaries between your house and your neighbor and respecting that boundary helps to keep peace between neighbors. And I believe that what we've done since 2021 in developing the draft for the short-term rentals in this community, even though it probably reflects only about 2% of the residential parcels within the town, is mending a wall, building good fences, but not building a fence so high that we kind of alienate ourselves. And hopefully people won't fall out over petty territorial disputes. So as a result of that, and taking into consideration everything that has been presented by our research, legal representation, consultants, hearings, the public, the committee is standing by the draft number 3. And tonight we are presenting a resolution of adoption of draft number 3 to become local law number 1. And in your packets, there is the resolution and then the documents for full environmental assessment form and the full environmental assessment form part 3 that legal has prepared for us. So I'm making a motion that that resolution be brought forward for a vote on adopting draft number 3 into the local law on short-term rental.
I'll second the
And
motion.
that's the committee's recommendation.
I'll second the motion. I'd like to comment that the committee did a lot of work, but Mike Murphy did an unbelievable amount of work.
Yeah.
And tried very hard to listen to everybody. We know we're not going to make every single person happy with every single law that we make, but we think this one is good for the town, and I think it'll help us, control something that we don't have any control over now.
Good.
You guys need to go over the stuff that was presented last night, that you said you had a meeting.
I spoke to the committee representatives that had been here. And I also have previously spoken to the other committee member that could not attend, who had received the written documents between our last meeting and the meeting last night. And everyone agreed that as the draft has been written, we stand on that draft.
So this is like a spur of the moment meeting that the public wasn't aware of.
It wasn't a meeting, it was a speaking to the attorneys that were represented last evening and the committee members that were present.
When you spoke to the public committee,
It wasn't a formal meeting. It was just reacting to the hearing that took place last night to see if there was anything that was substantial that would require us to rewrite the law.
all right, so,
And the agreement was there was nothing
I'm not
substantial.
going to say anything that you shouldn't do this because you're going to do this, but my question is, I thought this was a public committee that was open to the public to sit in and observe, and that seems like a committee function to me.
It
was a
was,
public hearing.
it was a public hearing.
But after that was supposed to go to the committee, and they were supposed to look at it and decide if there was something substantive to change, and that normally would have taken place in a public setting, whether people were there or not, but it would have been a formal meeting. And that sounds like a spur of the moment meeting that you're describing now.
It wasn't a spur of the moment meeting. It was an assessment of what we heard last night with two attorneys present and two members plus myself, meaning three members of the committee who were present. The question was asked, did we hear anything this last evening that was substantial enough to require us to continue with a fourth draft? And the answer was, we stand by what the draft number 3 is worded. So we're presenting draft number 3 as the committee's recommendation for the local law.
I personally disagree. I
Well,
thought that should have been, that's my motion. to
Excuse me,
disagree, but
I want a comment from the
Hold on
attorney.
1 second. So I did meet with council, me and another attorney, and there was no violation of the open meetings law. There was no quorum of the committee. So everything was done in accordance with the law.
So then what, I don't hear, was there a quorum or not a
There was
quorum?
no quorum.
No quorum. All right. I personally disagree, just for the record, but I'm not on the committee. So you do what you need to do.
This environmental form that we are going to do for part 2, do we do anything at this meeting? Like the last times we've adopted these forms, we actually had to read them, right?
We don't have to, you don't have to read these forms into the record, but a part of the resolution of adoption is adopting again, well, it's not adopting again, but you're declaring a negative declaration.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
There's just one on this assessment form, there's just a typo. It says
Which
town
one?
of Marlboro, and I think it's
Part
meant to
three.
say
I'm
town
so
of,
sorry.
don't worry, just town of, before you submit it, you just
Yeah.
want to make
Absolutely.
that little tweak there.
So motion
So there was a
made.
motion and there was a second.
Seconded.
Okay,
Oh.
so forgive me. So what was the motion? Oh, you made the motion.
The
Yeah.
motion
Bob seconded.
Bob
And then
seconded the
Bob
motion.
seconded it. Yeah, okay.
Are we all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
I mean, aye.
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 So we have this on the back of this. We just, again, I mean, I was used to reading partial of this, but we're just gonna adopt it and not, and post it, right?
Once it becomes law tonight,
Yeah,
then it becomes a posted. And then
okay.
And then working with Jonathan's office and with Chrissy's office, we will start the process along with Granicus to start to get the message out that it's now a local law that it's required people to come in and seek permits. And then that we'll just have to stay on top
And
of
then
that to make
Jonathan
sure
will
it's
be
flowing
much
properly.
busier.
Well, I don't know how busy because it's off-season technically, but people still have to come in.
Well, once they get noticed.
And once
they'll come.
Granicus starts to assess and giving us information on who's out there, it's going to take some time, and we're willing to wait to give people time. There will become a time when we have to say that you have to.
So let's,
That's my report.
Mike, thank you very
your
much.
committee did a great job. Thanks,
Well,
Brian.
it's-
Thank you.
I know I've gotten praise,
And
but
Richard, thank you very much.
there was a
Yep.
lot of people
Guys
that
did a lot
took
of work.
pieces and worked on.
This guy's over here too.
Yeah, and I think
And it
I
reflects
speak
what
for the
other
rest
committees do
of-
too.
of-
These
of the
guys, the same
board.
thing. Every committee we
but you
established.
were
We're
all very
completely
responsive, I felt, to
Yeah. You listened
residents'
to everybody.
concerns. And,
Yeah.
and thank you too, to our residents who took the time
Correct.
and had the care to, and, were very thoughtful about it themselves and came in and offered feedback. And,
Yeah.
to all of your credit, you would take it back and talk it through and came back with revised drafts, which is a really collaborative, process.
And with any town law, and correct me if I'm wrong, if down the road we find that there are flaws with this, we bring it back before the board. If we have to amend, we amend.
Yeah.
Okay, pull up my notes here. While I'm pulling up my notes, I will give you a brief NRI update. Our draft is complete. Our report is basically complete. We're right now in the process of putting photographs into the final draft of the natural resources inventory. I have been in contact, I was last month, and on this one question with Christine Vanderlyn from the DEC about what the next steps are in terms of adopting the NRI and what are the different options for municipalities in doing so. Understanding that the intent is to have these maps and this report become a reference guide for our planning and zoning boards and for all of us in the town when we look at land use. So I did provide Nan Stolzenberg and Jim Stout, who is helping us with the hospitality overlay legislation, as is Nan, with kind of an update on where we are with the NRI just this week, with the hope that we can get those pictures in, finalize that draft with our task force, and then come back to this board either at a meeting that we have to have at some point on the bridge grant that might happen before February, and sometime in the next, because this final draft is literally almost there, that we could come then with our resolutions to adopt those maps, which would be.
I mean, would you want to wait for the next meeting for that, or do you want it done?
Well, I'm just saying it would be the next meeting unless we're having another meeting on the bridge grant, because if
Yeah.
we're almost done, we
Yeah.
might as well get that
Yeah.
moving.
Okay,
Because I'd like to have that,
because, I mean, you're gonna want,
Good, healthy.
I don't want to overstep what you're
Yeah.
saying,
I
but
know.
just to sort of explain how that was in our
Good,
meeting
black.
yesterday, that has to be done prior to us adopting the.
we would like to
overlay.
have it done before we
It was-
formally
it was-
adopt the
It was
overlay.
requested by the environmental lawyer that we have, or Jim Stout,
Yeah.
that be done before we can move ahead with our overlay.
Yes.
I think you need help selecting the photographs. I can come help you do it.
Do you want to come do that with me? That'd be great. I was going to meet with Jen Glasson to do it. I have everything.
I know Jen said she would help you as well, but I
Yeah.
just thought maybe if you need someone just to sit along with you and say. well, this
Yeah,
would be a
that's
good
great.
photograph for that.
I told you Kristen isn't here, but it was a couple months ago. It was me, Jen, and Mike Herzog all sitting together in the booth next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And Kristen comes in to pick up a sandwich at the diner, and it's like, what are you three? I mean, we're all sitting next to each other, looking out with no one on the other side. So we can do that. That'd be
Yeah.
fun.
Okay, so I'll email you so you
Okay, great.
have the time together.
Great. That would be terrific. So that's coming along, and that's been a as you all know, because you all so graciously came to the presentation that we had at the
Mhm.
firehouse. it's been a long time, long process, great engagement with the village and with Clinton
Maps are great.
and with the DEC and with Cornell Cooperative. It's been a really great process, and I'm really excited for and the public participated in all of these different, the presentations that volunteers participated in over the summer at the farmers market and during community day. And so it's been a well thought out process with using the format and the guidance of the DEC and Cornell. And I'm very excited for the town that we're going to have this great resource at the end of that. So other news, we have a group, it's Emily Abrams as a representative for the planning board, Tate Kunkel, who's an environmental lawyer, is representative for the ZBA, and Pam Scott as the CAC representative, looking through the recommendations that the CAC, the planning board, and the zoning board and AKRF made to the town board, saying these are areas of our code that we need to clarify. So we're meeting to kind of go over some of that language. We were going to meet tomorrow. I unfortunately had to reschedule. I have to go to memorial service. We're going to meet next week. I'm going to, once we finalize the date and time, I think we have it finalized. But once it's confirmed, I will let Chrissy know, and we will post it on the website. So if Howard, if you or any other resident wants to listen in to the conversation as we're going, it's not going to be super exciting, but we are open for anybody who'd like to come and listen. And I'll make sure that that's posted in a timely manner.
It will be a Zoom.
It will be Zoom. It will be Zoom.
In public and in Zoom.
No, it'll be strictly on Zoom because Tate
Oh, sure.
and Emily, they're Zooming in from their offices. So it'll be a Zoom meeting. People can participate and pop in if they'd like to. So the planning board met last Tuesday. They had a public hearing on a proposed subdivision for Woodstock Road. I think I talked about this at the last meeting. They had referred it at the December meeting to county, recognizing that they wouldn't hear back from county in time for the January meeting because the January meeting was so early and with the holidays, but which they didn't. They didn't hear back from county yet, but they did give it a neg deck. And they have referred it they've kept the public hearing open and referred it to February. So they'll continue that conversation now that they have county feedback. And they also are going to need, before they can formally approve it, presuming that they do approve it, to have plans that have been submitted from a surveyor. Right now, they're just using site plans from the architect. So the applicant is in the process of getting that, and I hope that they'll have those by the next February meeting as well. So that's moving along. The second item was a person who is looking to rent space in the old Arrowhead building, the Coddington's old building. I believe it was a knife store.
Aerosmith.
In Aerosmith, yeah, but within it, there are different things.
Correct.
A person wants to put a showroom in for wood floors. So it's not currently permitted for that. They have to apply for a special use permit for that particular use. So there'll be a public hearing for that next month. The CAC met on the following day, on last Wednesday, and they discussed that there's been some proposed changes to the wetlands law that Mike worked on with Emily Abrams and with Susan Meany, which is actually part of that larger exercise we were talking about, the zoning update. And the CAC had some questions about it and some concerns. At the last CAC meeting in December, I happened to be at the meeting. I encouraged Pam Scott to reach out to Emily Abrams directly, particularly since they're kind of on the task force, to share the concerns. And Pam did, and she was satisfied with Emily's explanation and shared that with the CAC. However, the CAC still has some concern. I'm going to pull up the note that Pam sent to me because I was not at last week's meeting. But here we go. Hold on a moment. So most of the proposed changes are not substantive, they agreed, but at least one of them, the addition of a minor wetlands permit is a substantive change, although they feel it's in keeping with the spirit of the current law. The CAC recognizes the good intent behind the minor wetlands permit concept, but hopes that the process doesn't result in residents trying to bypass the regular process for non-minor projects.
Mhm.
We encourage the development of an objective list of what projects would be eligible for the minor permit, so it's clear.
Mhm.
And after the CAC meeting, Pam had a call with Susan Meany and Emily Abrams to communicate the CAC's thoughts and to report back to CAC on that productive and positive discussion. So when we meet next week, I'll circle back and get more detail on that and find out and make sure that we're all on the same page about that. Howard attended the meeting and reported on the recent planning board and zoning board meetings. And that was it for the CAC. And I think that's it for me.
Okay, well, thank you. Bob?
Not much. I met with fire company president, Matt Rockford, and the new
Who's
chief.
that?
Rochford, excuse me, pronounce it properly.
What is it?
That's okay, Bob. That's fine.
What's the proper pronunciation?
It's Rockford,
It's
right?
Rochford.
Rochford.
It's Rochford. You say
Yeah.
on your voicemail, Rockford.
Do you want?
We're gonna play it. We're gonna call right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Because I've
We
been,
have
that's
to
how I've
go through
been.
this at this meeting. So,
So anyway, I met with them and about the fire department grant to where they would like to use our land at the town landfill, I call it
Transfer station.
landfill, transfer station, proper words. And the previous chief had kind of let it go. He got in a motorcycle accident. There was some lag in time. They got the grant in 22. They haven't acted on it. So they asked me to meet with them. I met with them and I gave them a folder with all the work I did on the old Tedesco house as far as remediation, who I spoke to, phone numbers, the people that'll haul it away, people that'll tear it down, and gave them rough estimates. So they can move forward and not lose that $200,000 grant that they have. So they're going to move forward with it as quick as they can, so it has to be completed by September of this year. So, and the construction part of it is not a lot. It's some metal containers they weld together and cut some holes in and stuff like that. So, and at some point when we know they're going to move forward, then we're going to go to legal and find out what kind of agreement we should have. I mean, they've been using that property for years to cut up cars and do the jaws of life and things like that. So this will be a good thing for the community to have too. Plus we get rid of that old house, which is on the way to collapsing anyway. So because it's got holes in the roof now, things like that. Update on the water in the basement. We're going to put a diving board in for the pit down there. But no, the water comes, the big storm we had a few weeks back, that all disappeared with no damage at all. This time, because the water table was so high, there's a little more water, but it stayed in the pit a little bit along one wall down there. And now that we have a new handyman, we're going to reorganize down there and see if we can make sure that everything is off the floor, which 99% is. Our new extra carpeting from here was on the floor the last storm, but before the water rose, we were able to lift it up and put it up.
We need that.
Put it up high, right?
wow.
So we didn't get it damaged. I have a lead on a sole proprietor plumber. I'll fill you in after we speak and see if he's willing to handle our stuff on a as needed basis. And we spoke about the emergency doors before. I think they're ordered already. I met with the county for the building inspection. A lot of the things were the same. as usual, but we put in the budget for the new exit lights and the doors and the new roof to fix the leak. And that was basically, if you read the report, those were the things that are ongoing and sort of stick a little bit because they're ancient. Other than that, I'll be sitting down with Matt, our new guy, to talk to him about we have a lot less water in the basement because of the new gutters. This leader that's outside this wall here, we can't extend it because that's where people park over here. So I'm going to talk to him about if we're going to get a big storm, to put a cone out there and put a leader pipe out so that it keeps the water away from the building. And then I'll be speaking to Joe when we redo this parking lot, repave it, hopefully maybe this summer. We'll trench that out to the low end in the front and bury the pipe, and then that'll be it forever down there. And we have to find a rotor-rooter type of guy to open the drain in that pit in the basement, because it trickles out, but nobody knows where the end is. We looked for it a bunch of times. I'll follow up with Chrissy. The generators, our new guy will get them serviced in March. We made an appointment, I think. He'll also make sure the mowers and the gator up at the park and the Kubota are ready to go for spring. I forgot to ask Lisa if the light got fixed by the electrician today, but I'll check that later. We're going to look into putting power in the little shed out there for a little tool shed for our new maintenance guy. Won't be any heat in there or anything, but he could put stuff in there, lock it, and have switches to cut stuff up and things like that. I'll get him to paint the electric panel out there that kind of sticks out now that the tree is gone. And I'll have him keep an eye on the roof leak, which did not leak at all in this last storm, or if it did, there's a pail up in the attic that may have caught the little drips. And I'm going to talk to Carl Schmeling to look, I'm sure he'll volunteer his time to take a look at the windows at the town hall and what we can do in the future. I spoke to Gary about it a little bit, had a couple ideas. They're so big, but it would be ugly to make them smaller. So there are some solutions without having double hung windows. We have windows that are rotting out. I mean, the bottoms of the windows are rotting. The few windows that don't have storm windows, I don't know what happened to them. The storm windows in the past, but they're gone. And that's it.
You could put fixed glass up on top with sliders on the bottom and still keep the light.
Right.
Something like
I have a
that.
good idea. I used some stuff at the dealership that worked out very well. They were custom made by a local guy, meaning thermopane.
Bob, do you know if Central Hudson still offers the free energy assessment for buildings? Where they come in and they do a walkthrough?
I can look into that. We had it done.
Because at least then you've got a ballpark of what really, like the windows and.
Right, we did it with the bulbs in here. We got
They used to, when Barb worked there, they used to offer that.
Right. I'll check into that.
Check, see if they still
Yeah.
offer.
That would be great, and we can also, and Richard, I think this might be actually on
Yeah,
on your assignment.
About is work that can be done on the state, the community smart program, and you can get grants for doing it. So a lot of work in this facility
Yes.
can be done with grants. But we have to do an energy audit first.
Right. We have to keep an eye out for those.
Process before they can hire a consultant that can do that energy consultancy. They would then recommend even replacing all the HVAC in this building, all the heating, really upgrading the entire building environmentally. and it can all be done with grants, so, it's worth looking into.
Yeah.
So
but that-
before you go
so-
ahead and replace these.
Oh, no.
Thermal paint,
Oh, no.
we're almost there, where I think,
Yeah, yes, we have to meet again. We went through all of the different possible initiatives that qualify under climate smart communities, and
Right.
one of them is that audit. And we assign people that are on the task force to oversee those areas, and this is Richard's
right.
thing to
So,
work
I'm
with
not
you.
Qualified to do the.
Just
No,
to
I
figure
know.
out how it's done, or who do we
Yeah,
contact, and, the state is now
Especially with grant
providing,
money. So-
providing the
The
audit.
Audit also involves all municipal facilities, so the highway department, their facilities are involved in that. Even more than the trucks and gasoline that they use, and they can get new trucks and new equipment at the highway department as a result of all the grants, so it's.
Would the building, Richard, do you know if the buildings up at the rec area would qualify?
Yes.
I do qualify,
Oh,
absolutely.
100%, they
So
do,
let's-
and
let's
same
move on
thing with
that
the
stuff.
transfer station, anything that the town owns,
And transfer station.
any town building, that's part
Would
of,
qualify.
the audit, and we can
Right.
start chopping wood and qualifying for different.
Wow.
That's why when we were doing the renovation now, Danielle made sure that we were buying energy saving,
Right, right, yeah.
toilets and the
Yeah,
sink and all
yes,
of
there's a
that,
look
because,
back. In other words, you can do the work now and you can get credit for that work and apply
Right.
those expenses to
Yeah.
further grants.
Wow, great.
Okay. Joe, it's your turn.
Need money.
No, it's a great thing. It's just,
Yeah.
people on the committee aren't most of the good reports.
Yeah.
So we have to get consultants to do that. And
So,
there's grants for that too, so.
John Richard,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
thank you. Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm going to talk briefly about our hospitality overlay. As everyone will recall, at our last public hearing, we had concerns that were brought up from a town resident, right? So Leslie and I met with our consultant, Nan, and Jim Stout, who's is environmental lawyer.
He's a land use.
Land use
Yeah.
lawyer. And we met via Zoom yesterday and went over the concerns that were brought up point by point by point and discussed those. Jim has asked for, one of the concerns was our conversations with the village and whatnot that the comprehensive plan advised us. So as you all know, we sent a letter to the village and they came back with comments. That is one of the things he requested. We will send that over to him.
I actually did that this morning.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay.
And actually, I wanted to talk to you about that. And then he will come back with his interpretation of the comments that were brought up. And one of the things that he did said that we went over with earlier was the NRI to have that done. before we can-
Because we're so close to it
Yeah.
being completed, it would
Yeah.
make good sense for us
Yeah.
just to dot
have
that I
it-
and cross that
have
T to
it,
make sure
yeah.
that that is
So.
formally adopted. And so we'll do that before we come back.
So
and
as
present
as
anything.
much as we want to resolve this, we are trying to do it correctly and similarly with the short-term rental, take all the comments that were brought up during our public hearings and not ignore them, but take them into consideration. So that is what's going on with the hospitality right now.
Okay.
All right, so the ZBA met on December 19th. There were 5 orders of business on the docket. The ongoing application for a swimming pool from Yadgard at 610 Stamford Road. The application for solar panels at 134 Stamford Road. Heather Croner's application for an addition. And 631 Shunpike for a building of a shed. Regarding Heather Croner's addition, this was tabled until January meeting as no additional data was provided. Motion passed to move public hearing until January. A public hearing was opened regarding the Yadgard swimming pool. Representatives for both sides spoke for and against application as well as neighbors. Motion to close public hearing was passed. Board member Frank Rettel requested to discuss legal issues that were brought up during the public hearing in executive session. So motion passed to continue this until the January meeting. The solar panel application variances were passed as board decided there was nothing further needed to discuss regarding this. At 631 Shunpike, the shed application was also approved. So that is it with DBA. From the Dutchess County legislator, Deirdre Houston, she wanted everybody to know that she's, apologized for not being here. She is now in transition with new county executive and legislator chair. So she just is allowing that routine work with without new initiatives will probably be going on for another several months. She was chosen as the majority leader.
Oh, wow.
Very
Good for
good.
her.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Okay.
That's
So
excellent.
congratulations to Deirdre.
Yep.
All right, and that's it.
Good. Thank you, John.
You're
Good
welcome.
report. Okay, so it comes to that time of the evening. Does anybody have any questions for us or comments? I'm gonna tell Megan she can go home. She's been here long enough. Does anybody have any questions?
I was gonna ask Jonathan where he got his sweatshirt from.
What's that?
Oh, let me see if I
Jonathan,
got
where
it.
he got his sweatshirt from with the embroidery on it.
What's, I didn't see it. What was it?
Harrington, but the store up.
Oh, yeah, the lumberyard, yeah.
Oh, oh, right.
Oh, yeah, where they got that from. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. So the only thing, like, ask Megan, we'll follow up with that.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
because
gonna-
that's important. And I
yeah,
realized
I
you weren't a
understand.
part of the
Thanks,
ongoing
Dinner?
situation with our
That's my
grant
dinner.
for the bridge, but that is time sensitive. to get
Good,
that
healthy,
work
right?
done. And you know.
Sugar.
Yeah.
Keep them going.
They are
I
good.
made a note and maybe
Here, you want
Too,
some?
on the same.
Here,
On the black.
Joe and I, since we're doing
Here,
stuff on
have some.
hospitality,
there's some nice black ones
do
in
it,
there.
and then maybe, well, you might want to meet
I'll
with,
take a couple
with
black.
Megan separately on
No, here,
the
take
bridge
it.
stuff and the.
Thanks, Richard. Have a good night.
I forget what other
Feel better,
whatever we
Richard.
have that's outstanding that's of a legal nature.
Thank
just
you,
kind of
Lois.
give you a level set
Yep.
of where we
Night,
are.
Lois.
Right,
What?
so that you can just, and just flag things that might be coming down the pike, because there is a lot kind of happening right now, and it would be helpful, I don't know, just then you can, it's probably drinking water out of a fire hose, so we want to try to help.
I talked to the partner in my office who's handling the bond resolution. And
Okay.
he did say he contacted the engineer and was waiting for a call back from him.
The engineer, which engineer? Dan from
Yeah,
Colliers?
Dan,
From
Dan.
Colliers? Okay.
Yes, and I'm gonna circle back with the people here.
Yeah.
Tomorrow
Absolutely.
to
Okay.
kind of try to nail down the
Yeah.
numbers and just make sure everything is in order. And hopefully, when would,
Soon as you have, soon as,
okay,
what, Jeremy Comatot?
yes, Jerry, yeah.
Jerry, so
Come on.
as soon as that is complete,
Okay.
just let us know and we will
Okay,
see about.
Only
scheduling.
emergency.
Yeah, we'll have to, that's, yeah,
yeah,
okay.
and I will get Chrissy, I'll get you the Department of State local law filings.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Right.
Motion to
Thanks,
adjourn.
Megan.
Thank you so much.
Are you guys done?
Yeah.
So moved.
Okay.
You want a motion to both pay bills?
We're
Yeah,
just gonna
no,
make
yeah.
it bills now, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Bye, Judith, it was nice to see
Hi,
you.
Judith.
I'm sorry, who seconded
Happy New
that?
Year.
Gosh, it's so
I did.
expensive.
We did the motion to close the meeting, or
We did.
Yeah.
that's the